I'm Brandon Isle with BYU-Idaho Radio, and joining me today, I have Trenna McMullin and Makayla Nielson, one in studio and one over Zoom. So this is going to be fun. They are authors of the book, The Voyage of Clara Bowman. Thanks for joining me today.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
This is so fun. I read the first few chapters, and it seems like a very quick and fun read. But I want to know, how did you first kind of get together to collaborate on this book?
Trenna, do you want to take that?
Sure. So our husbands grew up together. I first met Makayla when she married Nick. And, we'd been kind of vague friends for years, but always long distance. And then a few years ago, I put out a call for, people who wanted to join an online writing group. And Makayla was like, "Oh, I'd love to." And I was like, "I didn't know you wrote." And so we were part of that together for a little bit. And then eventually that kind of fell apart. But then Makayla reached out and was like, "Hey, how would you feel about writing a book together?" And I was like, "I don't know how I feel about this," because I've always kind of done my own thing, not liked, outside input and all that. But it's been absolutely fabulous. Makayla is so great to work with. So yeah, that's how it went.
Makayla, tell me about your experience.
Yeah, so I think working with Trenna has been awesome. I feel like we both have strengths and weaknesses that we bring to the story. Trenna is amazing at getting from point A to point B. When you need a transition, Trenna can just whip those out and do that. I love focusing on relationships and dynamics, and dialogue is really fun. And so you put together, and Trenna is also much more experienced. She has a fantasy trilogy out and more in the works, and she's just great. So being able to learn from her has been really fun too.
Yeah. So how do you divide up the writing? Are you like calling each other and writing at the same time, or you're doing the development of character and she's doing different things? How does that work?
Good question. So since we do live in different places, I live in Utah and Trenna's in Montana, we do a lot of Marco Poloing. So that's just an app on our phones that you can send videos and they can watch it at their convenience.
It works really well because we both have kids too, so we're not always available at the same time to chat on the phone or to video chat. And so it's kind of this back and forth. I'll record one when I have time, and then she'll respond to it when she has time. And we brainstorm a lot that way and kind of talk through any, problems that we're having in the story, or, who wants to write which part. And a lot of times, one of us will say, "Oh, like I'm seeing this scene right now." And so that person will write that scene. Or, sometimes we'll be like, neither one of you want to take the start of this chapter? I'm not really. And so, sometimes it's not as easy, but one of us will always draft it first, whether it's a scene or a full chapter, however far we get before we run out of steam. And then the next person will go over that part and make any changes or tweaks or whatever. And if we run into big problems, we'll talk about it. We don't do that too often. Pretty often we're able to just, go in there and tweak and get it the way that we want, without a whole lot of back and forth.
Yeah. Well, that's so cool. It sounds like the best world for writing. I know if you're writing your own book, I say I know, I've never written a book, but it's mostly just you, right? And then when you get it to an editor, the editor helps you kind of flesh things out a little bit. But it sounds like you've really enjoyed this collaboration. Oh,
very much so. Yeah, we use Google Docs. And so, like Trenna said, one person will draft it first, and the other person will go in suggestion mode. And so you'll see multiple colors on the document, getting it to where we want it to be. But yeah, that process, we were just talking the other day about how there's so much camaraderie with it, where we both do write on our own as well. And it's just a little slower going because it's all on you. Those things where it's like, that scene, I'm not seeing it. Trenna's like, "Well, I do." And it's way easier to pick up,
Yeah, that's so neat. So tell me about how you decided to write this particular story where you have a fictional world and There's faith involved in it and people going to new lands. How did you get to this place?
Yeah, so it started as a Google Doc where we threw a bunch of ideas on there and we kind of picked out the ones that stood out to us. So the premise is a mixture of, we both threw up a bunch of ideas and we picked the ones we liked.
Yeah, I think we each had like 4 or 5, like completely different ideas that we put up. Like, we could do a book about this, or we could, do we want it to be modern day? Do we want it to be its own world? Do we want, all the different things there? And we each had an idea that was relatively similar. Like mine was, it could be kind of an exploration or like exploring all the different flora and fauna of some country. And then she had one up there that I think was the one that pulled in the religious persecution part. That was like, it's somebody that has to leave to find a new land because of religious persecution. And we kind of pulled both of those together a little bit and, brainstormed some more. And somehow it turned into our current idea for Voyage of Clara Bowman, which was essentially if Anne of Green Gables went on an Indiana Jones style adventure to find a safe haven for her people. So
I like that description. That's so fun. Because Clara is a strong character and you recognize that right away in like the very first chapter. I think the first couple paragraphs, you're like, oh, this is a good, strong character. But yeah,
thank you.
It is that marriage. She reads a diary of her great grandpa, and he's not religious in any means, but he's all about the plants, and this kind of inspires her to say, "Hey, we need to go find this land that he discovered or rediscovered this land." Right?
Yeah, that's right. It's got the element of we can't stay here anymore. Either her, the place where she grew up is no longer favoring her people at all. They're actively persecuting them. And so the mixture of we found this journal, this place might actually be real, and we have to leave anyway, is kind of the catalyst for the beginning of Clara's journey.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if that's not enough, this is a romance novel. Right? So how do you bring that into the mix?
Yeah. So Trenna is excellent at explaining this. I'm going to try, and then Trenna can fix it. So we have our fantasy world is kind of the setting. And then Clara's story is the overarching story. But the romance helps to kind of pull her through the story and helps her to kind of become the person that she wants to be.
I think you did great.
Thank you.
So essentially those are the 3 parts of the story: plot, setting, character. We had our setting, we had our basic premise of she's going to, discover this land. But like Makayla said, a lot of the character development comes through her interactions with these 2 men. And when we were writing the romance, it's interesting because we'd kind of tentatively decided it was going to go one way. And then as we were writing, we were kind of like, maybe we want to take it the other way. Maybe she's going to go with this other person in the love triangle. And multiple times through the story, we kind of went back and forth, where eventually we just decided, we're going to just kind of wait right up until the end, and then we'll choose who she's gonna end up with. And I think you actually see that a lot in the story. A lot of the feedback we've gotten from people has been really mixed. There's a lot of like, no, she should have ended up with this person. And then a lot of people saying, oh, I'm so glad she ended up with this person. And so I think we found a pretty good balance to our love triangle.
So was it like you were taking sides, team Makayla's on one team and Trenna's on the other team, or how did that end up?
I feel like as we were writing, we would have scenes where it'd be like, oh my gosh, how could she not end up with this person because he did X, Y, or Z, or she felt X, Y, and Z, or whatever. And then by the end, it's like Trenna said the other day, she's like, I always just feel satisfied at the end. So I think we did it right,
Well, that's so fun. And you've gotten feedback from like beta readers, and now it's out there for the last few days. How are they liking it? What are they telling you?
Yeah, so we had ARC readers. So these are advanced reader copies. We gave them out, and we actually have a few reviews up now. And people have said just fun stuff. But
the nicest things.
So kind.
They say don't read your reviews, but like first few days, it's like, no, we're going to read a few.
Yeah, people. I think the faith aspect has been huge for people. They've really enjoyed seeing a non-perfect character grow through struggles, which I think is, how we live. That's real life. Clara is a real character. So we've seen a lot of that feedback. We've seen feedback about the setting. The setting is fun. It's especially, I feel like when we get to the jungle, it's great. We had a lot of fun with the different types of flora and fauna, and yeah.
And Trenna, is that your specialty? You know about flora and fauna?
I actually don't know a whole lot. I was looking up all kinds of things, but my younger sister loves to go out in nature and photograph things, and she will we'll go through it and I'm like, oh, that's a pretty plant. And she goes up and she's like taking pictures of all the little like minute bits of the leaves and seeing all the things. And so I feel like I kind of drew on that a little bit, along with some Google research for plant terms. My grandfather actually was a botanist, which is kind of funny. He taught botany at Rick's College back in the day.
Oh, awesome.
So my dad grew up in Sugar City, and yeah, I have lots of ties to Rexburg. But he sadly passed away years ago. I wish that he had been alive so I could have asked him those questions, because he would have absolutely told me all the things.
That's so neat. Well, it's cool as you write something you can pull from your own experiences and maybe the experiences of others. But what experiences of your own show up in this book?
Oh, that's a good question. Well, I worked at a zoo growing up. It was a volunteer program from the age of 10 to 18. I worked at a zoo. And so I feel like a lot of... You'll see it in book 2 as well, but insects and animals and things of that nature, I think we're able to bring to life pretty well, partly because of those experiences. Especially, I mean, I was the one out there with the cockroach trying to get little kids to come
right.
and touch it, So things like that, I think, are in there.
Yeah.
I think... This is a young adult story, but I think it appeals to adults as well because, well, Trenna and I are adults and we do pull from, emotions that we felt before. So although we haven't been in some of these situations that poor Clara gets into, we can relate to the things that she feels as she goes through them.
Yeah, definitely.
Absolutely. I think that... even like the religious persecution aspect, luckily, I've never been in a situation where I've been, completely ostracized because of my beliefs. But I did grow up in Montana where there's not a lot of members of my church. And so trying to fit in, I always kind of felt like the odd one out. There were things that were totally normal for me that then someone else would be like, what? Like, why do you do that? Or why do you know? So I think I definitely drew on a little bit of that for Clara's character. And then also just kind of the trying to find the balance between how do I, like we all go through life making judgments all the time and we're told to not judge others, but how do you, you have to make, is this a safe person to trust? Is this, somebody I want to be around? Is this, what kind of things do I want to have in my life? And so I think I kind of drew on that a little bit too for Clara, because that's very much her journey is learning, like, how do I stop, making these snap judgments of people and learn to actually like see what's really going on and learn to be accepting of others at the same time fighting for what I believe and want to be accepted for too. So I think, I think that's something everyone can relate to. But especially because of the way I grew up in a small rural community without a lot of people that believed the way I did. I had experiences.
Now, you're both members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and I believe we've met at the LDS PMA conference, and what a great place to meet writers and other creators. Can you tell me about your experience with that organization and how that's helped in maybe this process?
Yeah. So this was both of our first times in person with LDS-PMA. So I grew up in Illinois and am a convert to the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And so I think there's power in being able to have so many like-minded people together, just for moments of, this, I'm putting this thing out into the world, and it's a beautiful thing. It's something that people can pick up and feel good about after they read it, while they read it. We've had a few comments about that. When people are done reading it, they say they're left with good feelings and optimism. And I think LDS-PMA is a great place to be able to talk about that and say, this is what I want. Like, I want to put good things out in the world. And for that not to be something that is odd or potentially looked down upon.
Yeah, I should mention this is a no spice romance, right?
That's correct.
That's important to know.
Absolutely.
Trenna, what's been your experience?
So I first attended LDS-PMA, I think it's been 3 years ago now, online, because I was looking for conferences that I could attend from Montana without having to travel. I have 7 children. The youngest is 3. So getting away is tricky. I can only do it once or twice a year. So I was looking for something I could do online, and LDS-PMA came up, and I was like, oh, well, I'll give that a try. And it was fantastic. The online offerings that they have are, not quite as good as going in person, but they still do a great job of giving time for networking and getting to know other people. And actually, one of our very first beta readers was someone that I met during one of the online classes for LDS-PMA that first year. And we had her read through it, and we asked her, we were going to pitch it at the conference to a publisher. And we had, just a few weeks, and I was like, hey, you said you'd be interested. Like, any chance you could read through these first 3 chapters before we have to submit them for this pitch? And she was like, oh, sure, I'd love to. And she read the first 3 chapters. And, we did the pitch and nothing came of it. And anyways, eventually, like a couple months afterwards, she emailed me back and was like, hey, so I was just curious, what's up with this character? Like, do we and I was like, well, if you want to, I can send you the rest of the manuscript. So that was a great, just kind of a connection of like, oh, readers do connect with this. They, even a few chapters in, and she wanted to read the rest, which was just fantastic for our confidence in the story. And then fast forward to this year, we had decided that we were going to go to LDS-PMA, and a number of things came up that kind of threw a wrench in our original plan for it. And then, we talked, are we still going to try and go, or is it going to work? And we were just like, you know what, like, we just both really want to go. So we're going to go. And we went, and it was so amazing being able to connect with people that are creatives and have the same values. And just everyone is so like helpful and just encouraging in the best possible ways there. We found a bunch of people that signed up to be ARC readers that, we didn't know 2 weeks ago, and now they're leaving reviews of our book and have read our book and love it. So it was amazing.
Yeah. And that's the experience I've seen. I'm not a writer of books, but I love being around these creatives who are all trying to produce good content and really just inspire people. And it can be a fantasy, it can be other pieces of media, and it's really the same purpose, just to lift people up, which is so cool. Now, this book series is a series. This is book 1 that's out. How many books are there going to be?
So we have at least 4. We've got 2 that are written. We've got Clara. We've got the next book. I don't know if we should say the title. It might.
It might be spoilery.
Okay. Titled to You'll Learn It Later.
Yes, but it is
the back of the book. So if you read the book, the title for the next book is in the very back.
There we go.
That's right. So we've got Clara's story written. The next story is written, and then we have 2 more. Our original plan for this series is kind of interesting, where we have it so the first 3 books you could read out of order. They're kind of standalone stories. And then the fourth,
You follow different characters, but they're characters that you'll know vaguely from the other ones.
yes. So the first three, they follow different characters. And the fourth is kind of a bringing together of all of the characters.
This is the Avengers team that you've assembled, isn't it?
That's right.
Yep.
And so we don't know exactly if we have pulled this off yet. We're in the works figuring that out and making sure that is a thing.
Still editing book 2 to make sure it stands alone relatively well.
That's right.
Well, it's so exciting. What do you hope people take away as they read your book and the future books?
I think, kind of that optimism that a lot of people have mentioned is one of the things, as well as just having had a chance to escape into another world, to have, had an adventure, and then to leave feeling hopeful about life and about their place in the world. I think for me, a lot of people are like, oh, is it Christian fantasy? I'm like, yes, because of the themes, but really it's any person of any faith, I feel like, could read this. And I even, like, my neighbor kid across the street who is not religious at all has read it and absolutely loved it. So I think those uplifting feelings of hope and optimism and just kind of feeling like you can do this in life is what I would want people to take away.
Yeah, thank you. Makayla?
Yeah, I think the dream would be for someone to pick up that book and feel the way that I felt about the books I picked up when I was younger. So to pick it up and to think about it after, and for it to kind of be a little part of you that you take with you as you grow. And I think that there is, since it is uplifting, I can say that I truly want that, where some books that I've read, I'm like, oh, that was fun, but that maybe wasn't, I maybe don't need to keep that as a piece of me. So I would hope that it's something that people can read and look back on and think, you know what, like that was a good story and it was good for me.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. Where is the best place to find your book?
Yeah, so you can find it on Amazon. Just type in The Voyage of Clara Bowman and you're good. You can find it there. Either of our websites, they're super easy, MakaylaNielson.com or TrennaMcMullin.com. So you can find it there too.
Okay, and we'll put these links in the description and everybody can hopefully find this and read it and give you great feedback.
Yeah, thank you so much for the opportunity.
Yeah, thanks, ladies.